Everyone, it's Caitlin. We're here in the tropical forest again this morning, and today's Zoo to You is brought to you by the U.Fund College Investing Plan and MEFA. So we are down here with tapirs this morning, and some of you have probably been following all of the babies that we have here in the tropical forest. We have Abby, the mom, right over here. And Abby is 16 years old. And then the other tapir we have out here is our baby, Millie. And so she recently just got named, which we're very excited about. And her full name is Millie Tanya Tapir. And she is one of our recent additions out of the 4 babies that we have here in the tropical forest. And they're out here on exhibit this morning getting some of their special treats. Oh, she's coming up on the rock a little bit there. So you might be able to see some of their diet that's scattered throughout here. We have some different browse and some lettuce. They have some hay. And the hay a little bit further towards the back, that's a little bit more yellow hay, that's their bedding. So that tends to be a spot that they spend a lot of time resting in during the day. If you've come to the zoo, you've probably seen that that's one of Abby's favorite spots. So Millie, our tapir tot here, she was born on September 29th. For any of you that this may be your first time hearing about her. And we did have twins. Abby did have twins, which is a pretty rare occurrence for tapirs. And unfortunately, the male did have some health issues since birth, and he did not make it. But thankfully, Millie, her health got better, and she was able to be with mom, and now is doing really well, able to come onto exhibit, and her and mom have bonded great. So you can see that she's getting some of her lettuce and browse over there. And some of you may be noticing on her is stripes, and there are no stripes on mom. So if anyone has any ideas, if they want to put it into the chat of why they think that is, why a baby may have this coloring on them and why they lose it as they get older, there are a couple different species that do a very similar thing, such as alligators and lions. So think about what that would help them with in their natural range, which is Central and South America. And then we'll get back to that in just one second. But one other thing you might see in here is this is usually a pool for our tapirs right in front here in this kind of under tier. And that is not with water right now because we need to make sure that Millie's going to be able to successfully swim. So the keepers will start putting little bits amount of water in there to her to get used to until she is able to really swim. But some of you that maybe have joined, have come to the zoo in past years have seen Abby, who really enjoys swimming, and she'll be fully submerged in the water sometimes with just their nose sticking out to breathe. So tapirs are very, very good swimmers. So eventually, Millie will learn how to do that too and be able to swim just like her mom. So you can kind of see with Millie here and what she's doing is her nose. They have very particular noses, tapirs, and they're very long and flexible, and they move them around a lot. You can see that Millie's kind of exploring with her nose there. And that nose acts almost like a snorkel. Just how I was saying with how Abby, when she does go underwater, she holds that up pretty much like a snorkel to be able to, and can be fully submerged under the water. Oh, look at Millie coming down here exploring.
Back to your question, Caitlin.
Yes.
Martha
Thank you.
said that the difference between the tot and the mom might be for camouflage.
Absolutely, Martha, you are correct. So that camouflage would help them to survive in their natural range by being able to hide. Because what mom might need to do is leave them in a spot and may need to go around and forage a little bit more. Wow, we've got a brave tapir. She's showing us going down into the pool here. So that camouflage would allow them to blend in the dense rainforest so that hopefully no predators would be able to see them. Then they lose their stripes because as they get older, as you can see, Abby is quite large. She is 653 pounds. So tapirs can weigh up to 495 pounds. So once they get to that size, there are not many things that are going to try to prey upon them. But when there's a baby, clearly much smaller, there are animals that might be preying upon them, such as a jaguar. So they need to be able to hide so that the jaguar cannot find them. But because they do spend a lot of time in the water, that is thankfully a time where they're usually hidden with just their little nose sticking out, so that can be avoid predators that way as well.
Martha also asked the question, where are the tapirs from?
Oh, that's a great question. So they are from Central and South America. So they do live in dense rainforest. So, sorry, I just was watching because I thought she heard a little noise Millie made, and she was paying attention to it. So she, as you can see, she's kind of looking of where Millie is. That's very cute. So in that dense rainforest, they do spend a lot of time in the water, like I mentioned, but they also, because of their size, they're able to push through the brush if necessary, if they need to get into other areas, but they do spend a lot of time closest to the water. And they are very protective mothers. So tapirs in their natural range will defend their young ones against any predators or any threats. And so as you can see, Abby does the same thing here. She had another baby about 2 years ago, and she was a great mother to that tapir as well. And she is showing all of the same mothering skills to Millie here. So tapirs grow at a very fast rate. So they can grow, at a pound each day in their first year. So by a year, they're almost full grown, which is quite different than some other animals. So we have our gorillas here, and because they're so similar to us, they grow at a similar rate to us, which is much slower. So our gorilla baby at a year will still be very small. Oh, whereas Millie here will be almost full grown, because at that point, they're able to go off on their own, because tapirs are a solitary species. So they're ones that will be, if you come over here, Jen, you might be able to get a better look. She just came up from the pool on the other side. And Abby's checking in, seeing if she's okay from her little adventure there.
Jen asked a great question.
Yeah.
And asked, how do these tapirs communicate with each other?
Oh, that's a great question. So because they, especially babies, could be a prey species, they are not super vocal. Especially as a solitary animal, they're not usually communicating too much between each other, except when it becomes to mating season and when they do have young. So it was probably way too quiet to hear, but when Millie did go down into the pool, you could hear a kind of little squeaky noises that was her communicating to her mom. So she then came up and found her mom. But that's one communication is between mom and baby, and it's kind of just small squeaking noises. And then for mating as well, they would need to use communication to find each other in their natural range to mate. That's a great question. Did any other questions come through?
Looking at the chat now, and I don't see any other questions. So if you'd like to have a question answered, please put it in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's also some different enrichment items out here. One that's probably hard to see is they have a boomer ball in there for them to play with, and they can use their nose to push that around. And the zookeepers will give them different types of enrichment out here for them to explore during the day. And some of that may have to do with putting food in different places for them to find, but also might be some different items like a boomer ball for them to move around if they want, especially with a younger animal like Millie. She has a little bit more energy. She's running around a little bit right now. So they have some different enrichment items that they're able to play with too.
Miranda had a question. Is Millie's growth affected by her being a twin?
Is her growth affected? Yes, that's a great question. So when they were born, because they were twins, they weighed less than if it was one tapir that was born. So they did have to take very good care of them at the beginning. The zookeepers helped a lot to help with their care. They did also go to Tufts Veterinary Center for a little bit to help stabilize them. And that's where they ended up, Millie was able to come back from there because her health increased. And she was able to come back and be with mom. But the keepers had to be very diligent in making sure they were getting all the right amount of food, and that her and Abby were bonding well, so that she was able to remain healthy. And then one last thing I want to mention before we wrap up and see if there are any other questions that come through is that tapirs are an endangered species. So we are very happy that we have all of these adorable babies here in the tropical forest, but it's also very important that we have these new individuals in these human care to be able to preserve a healthy genetic population in human care, because they are endangered in their natural range. So almost all of the species in this building that had babies recently are threatened species. So we are very happy to have these babies to contribute to their population. And in their natural range, their biggest threats are habitat loss along with hunting. So the conservationists are working very hard to help preserve their habitat and monitor tapir numbers. And here at Zoo New England, we work with those organizations that are in the field to help preserve those species, and have our ambassador tapirs here, like Abby and Millie, to help teach about tapirs and their wild counterparts. All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us today. If you have any other questions, you can put them into the chat, and also can come visit our zoo. Bye.